What's up, guys? So by now I'm sure you got the gist of it, but just in case there's anybody here that hasn't seen any of my other videos, this is going to be a more detailed video of how I did the headpiece for my Bowsette costume. If you want to see the overall walkthrough of how I did all of it, there is a link in the description which will take you to that video. In that video description, there is also going to be more links that will lead you to the more detailed pieces of all the other pieces for the costume. Be sure to go check those out. Be sure to check out other videos on my channel. I really appreciate it. It really helps me out if you like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, let's get on with the video. So starting out with the horns, I'm going to be using this stuff. It's called Model Magic. I just got this at Walmart because my cosplay store was out of the foam clay that I usually use. This is one that I had already sculpted. And yeah, I pretty much just took a bunch, wadded it up together, and did a horn out of it. It was really easy to use. I mean, it's basically the same thing as foam clay. It didn't end up being a little heavier than I think foam clay would have been, but overall it served its purpose and it worked out pretty well. There's really not much to explain here. Like I said, I pretty much just clumped it all together and then shaped it into the shape of a horn. I did, obviously, as you can see, have to keep comparing sizes just to make sure that they were the same shape, they had the same curvature, the same size, all that kind of stuff. I used a couple of different sculpting tools just to help me to get the right shape and all that stuff and eliminate any texture. And yeah, pretty much just keep working with it until you're happy with it. I decided to be chaotic and destroy it and start all over from scratch. I don't really know what the reason behind this was. Sometimes to make sure it's the right shape, you can lightly stroke the horn. Okay, anyway, after you're done stroking your horn and you're satisfied with the shape of it, you're going to let it sit overnight so that it can harden, and then you're going to come back with sandpaper just to kind of smooth out all of the textures even further. After sanding, I applied Mod Podge with a sponge brush. I did end up painting it a cream color because I thought it looked more realistic and made it look really cool. But then I decided that I wanted to stay true to the video game character type of design, so I went back and painted it white anyway. One thing that I did forget to mention is that I did also have my headband ready. I just painted a headband yellow and use that to make imprints of where the horns are going to attach to the headband. And if you did not see the video, again, I did lose some of the footage from this build, so one of those clips was me making the actual crown. Basically what I did was I just took a piece of paper and drew like a half square, half janky pentagon thing onto the paper and then cut it out, traced it onto Warblet, and then cut that out. I used 4 pieces. I almost would recommend using 5 instead. I feel like it may be a little bit better, but your girl got a small head and I was compensating, okay? So whatever works for you. I liked the way this part of the crown turned out, so it's kind of just personal preference. For the eyes, I just took some scrap Warbler, used my heat gun, and made little bead, little type of things out of them. I don't know how to explain it. I just made little oval things in the shape of the eyes. It makes sense if you know what the crown looks like. Of course, Warbler sticks to itself when heated, so I just grabbed my crown and my heat gun, warmed it up, and just popped the eyes right on. The next part I started working on was the dome of the crown. I think this was the part that I probably struggled with the most, just because I've never worked with Warbler before and I was freehanding everything, so this will probably be redone before too long. What I did was I just took the crown and traced a circle onto the Warbler and then created like a pie cut type of shape and then cut that out and used a styrofoam ball to try and get the proper curvature and everything, and it just wasn't working out for me, so I ended up trying to freehand sculpt it, and that really didn't work for me. So I ended up just doing what I could with what I had at the time, aka I was running out of patience and I had to do something to get it done before I lost my mind completely. So this is basically what I, came up with. And yeah, it's definitely gonna be redone because I didn't like the way it turned out. It didn't shape properly. It was just difficult, and I wanted to get it done and was rushing a little bit, admittedly. So definitely take your time, be patient with it, and especially if it's your first time working with some of these materials, be kind to yourself. Like I said, I don't like the shape that it turned out to be because I did end up freehand sculpting it, which it didn't work out as well as I thought it would, but that was just me being stubborn. So I do recommend getting the proper size of styrofoam ball, and that will ease some of your troubles, definitely. Also, again, just be patient, be kind with yourself, because especially if it's your first time, it's a pain in the ass. And a small visit from Crafty Cat, who ended up knocking over the camera. Basically, all I'm doing here is just painting the main part of the crown gold, and then I'll go back and paint the eyes black, and then the dome is hot pink with white spots. Depending on what type of paint you use, or what brand, I guess, I just went ahead and painted the pink and then put the white spots on top, and it worked out just fine for me. There are certain paints out there that will not turn out so well if you do that, so you're going to want to paint the white first and then the pink later. Bear in mind in this clip that the horns are painted beige, but they end up being white anyway. Basically what I'm just doing is taking contact cement, and I'm going to attach the horns to the headband, and then I'm going to take C4 and just make my little balls that are going to go on the top of the crown. I was double timing at this point. What are you going to do? The way I did it, pretty simple. I just made little ball things and stuck them to the points on the crown so that I could get the perfect sized slit. And then I'm going to let those set overnight, and then come back later and use contact cement to attach them to the crown. And also, I painted mine gold. I think I've seen it both ways, where some people leave these white and some people make them gold. I think it's super cute either way. Again, personal preference. I relied heavily on contact cement in this costume for some reason. But I am going to take contact cement and attach the crown to the headband. Once again, later on, I did take Warbler to make the little bands to make the crown and the horns sturdier on the headband. Here I'm making the backing, which you can't see because I don't know how to record. But what I did was I just took a couple of squares of Warbler. I'm sorry, I don't know why that made me laugh, but whatevs. So I just took a couple of squares of Warbler and made sure that they were nice and warmed, and then I stuck them to the back of the horns and got the shape of the headband. Obviously this is not going to stick very well on its own, so again I relied on contact cement, and it's held up pretty well thus far. So be sure you trim these as well. Of course, it's squares up against circles, and that's not how life works. So you do need to trim these down and make sure they're as hidden as possible. Then, like I said, you're just gonna apply contact cement and just stick them down. Another thing I've since decided will be replaced is the base of this wig. Obviously, as you can tell, there's many different shades of yellow. And basically what I'm trying to do here is color correct that, but what's probably going to end up happening is buying a base from the same place that I bought the ponytail. The yellow headband does tied pretty well in the hair, but I just overall don't quite like the quality of the wig that I handmade, probably because I BS'd the entire process. That is some of the footage that did get lost, but it wasn't worth watching anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, that's basically how I made the headpiece for my Bowsette costume. Again, be sure to check the link in the description that will take you to the main video for this costume. That main video is going to have the links for all the other detailed videos for how I made other pieces of this costume. Again, I really appreciate you checking it out and leaving a like and subscribing and sharing and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.